...2011 DinoTri held in Vernal, Utah. An amazing event. We had racers come from 4 quarters of the United States and internationally had racers from Japan, even Russia. Saturday morning they get onto a bus at 5:30 in the morning, transfer up to Red Fleet State Park where they are greeted by music and racks and racks of hundreds of bikes, people putting on wetsuits, getting their goggles ready, jumping in the water to feel what it's like and getting warmed up. Announcer comes up to the dock and it's a deep water start, so they get into the water and they're floating, waiting for it to start. And this year with amazing flair, we had a guitarist, Brad Litton, come and he played the national anthem. And you can't describe how awesome this was as he's playing the national anthem and it's echoing off the Red Fleet Canyon walls. And there's chills up and down everyone's spines. And we get a countdown, 3, 2, 1, and there's an explosion of energy and the flat waters of Red Fleet turn into a churning mass of arms and legs. And they're off. And some of these guys are amazing. They're swimming so fast that it's unbelievable. World record type speeds. And there's four buoys set out on Red Fleet State Park. They get out and they have to go out, and it's on the swim, who can get to the turn first. If you can get to the turn first, you're out in the clear water and there's less confusion. You can go faster, you don't get hit, you're not getting swam over. And so they're all racing for that first corner, and that's where all the confusion starts because people are turning and kicking. And then they race to the second turn. There's 4 buoys and they have to go around a full lap. 2 courses, an Olympic course and a sprint course. Olympic guys have to do that twice. And the second time around, they come into the sprinter, so it gets even more confusing. Well, as they do the swim, and again, there's nothing like this in sport. That explosion of energy when the cannon goes off and they say go, you have to be there, you have to participate to understand how amazing that explosion is. Well, after the swim, they come out of Red Fleet and they have to exit up on the dock. Now, this is where it kind of gets interesting because they've expended a lot of energy, and most people, as they do triathlon, the hardest part for them is the swim. That's why they do it first. They come out and immediately they're greeted by a hill that has 10 to 12% grades. And they have to run straight up this hill after exhausting themselves in the water to go jump on a bicycle. And many of you might be thinking, well, this is crazy. I think that's part of the allure of triathlon, is it's certainly crazy. They sprint up the hill, stripping off a wetsuit, which if you've ever taken off a wetsuit is extremely difficult, especially when you're tired and you're trying to go up a hill. And they come into what we call transition 1. That's where we transition from the swim to the bike. And some of these guys are amazing. They'll get a wetsuit off, bike shoes on, grab a bike and be out in less than a minute. Other people will take longer. And all the while you're trying to get your heart rate into a different zone so you can get into a bike zone. Come out of transition, you have to bike mount. And at first it's okay, you get about a quarter mile of an easy flat as you loop around the Red Fleet State Park. And then the fun begins. 2.5 miles of 8 to 12% grades on a bicycle. And unless you've been on a bicycle on that kind of a grade, you have no idea how difficult this is. Heart rates are spiky. The winner of the sprint competition said his heart rate was redlining, meaning he was at a level that he should never get to. And he said, I knew I had to do that to win. So he took his heart rate up into the 190s, almost 200 level, and just sprinted up this hill. Just absolutely amazing. 2.5 miles of torture turns into 11 miles of pure bliss. If you're a bicyclist, taking from the top of the Red Fleet Peak down into Vernal is one of the fastest bike sections probably in any triathlon in the state of Utah, maybe in the West. They'll carry speeds over 40 miles an hour in some spots. Just flying down, making hairpin corners, You know, with bikes leaned at 30-degree angles to make these corners. All amongst other racers, you know, handlebar to handlebar, racing into the area. You know, we've mentioned that there's two courses, Olympic being the long course. Now with an Olympic triathlon, you go twice the distance of a sprint triathlon. They come in off of Red Fleet, and the fastest section is right above Don Pedro's. You come off the Steinecker Hill, and these guys, I would not be surprised if some of the cyclists got into the 50s on a 50-mile-an-hour range with their bike. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing. Now, if you've seen these bicycles, that's even scarier because the tire's about this wide. And if you're going 50 miles an hour, a rock this big with a tire that wide can be quite a scary event. They come into the Don Pedro's area, turn right along the Steinecker Dam. And they go across that little rolling hill section, turn left onto 1500 West on what's called Kids Canal Road. Right there, the Olympic course splits. The sprint cyclists continue straight. They go right into high school along that road. The Olympic course, a much prettier course. They take up through the Rock Point area, through the Mazer neighborhoods, up to Remember the Main Park in Dry Fork Canyon. And there they're greeted with views that are just amazing, things that you only associate with the Zions Park area or Moab. But here in Vernal, we have these secret little places of red rock country with petroglyphs and hundreds of foot sheer cliff walls that greet the racers. A lot of them are too tired because they've been pedaling uphill now from this section, from the Rock Point turn all the way up to Vernal, or up to the Remember the Main Park. It's what you call a false flat. You look at it, you think it's not very steep, and you look down at your speedometer, you're only going 12 to 15 miles an hour, and you think, what's wrong with you? It's because you're going uphill. Quite a bit of uphill grade right through there. So they're exhausted. They get to the Remember the Main State Park and have to turn around, and this is where it's fun. Then downhill all the way into the high school. Actually quite a technical downhill. There's some serious corners that they're carrying high speeds, again 30, 40 miles an hour. They join the sprinters back up on 1500 West, which is Kids Canal Road. They're taken into the high school to what we call Transition 2. And to describe Transition 2, and some of the pros are amazing when they do this. We had the winner of the course. They were trying to describe his transition. He comes flying around the corner into the high school, bike going about 20 miles an hour, slams on the brakes, goes up on the front wheel, almost tips over, and meanwhile he's stripping his shoes off, so he jumps off his bike and lands barefoot off his bike. And grabs his running shoes, throws them on, racks his bike, and he's gone. Less than 30 seconds to transition from a bike to a run. And he takes off in sub 6-minute miles, which to you runners out there, to run less than 6 miles an hour for a prolonged period of time is difficult. And to compound the difficulty, he just swam a mile and rode his bike 26 miles. Well, the run course, this is where it gets exhausting. It's the mental test for the triathletes. They're out, no shade, so completely exposed to the sun. It's starting to get 9, 10 o'clock, so we're starting to get into the 80s. This year, 2011, Vernal's had a cool spring and summer. Hottest day of the year, of course. No wind, no shade, exhausted from the previous 2 events, and they're off on their run. Changed the run course this year to try to capture some of the new development area of Vernal. We take off from the high school, run right up in front of the high school on the south side, underneath an underpass of 500 North, into what we call Aggie Boulevard in the new Main Street area. And there they get to do 2 courses again, either the 5K or a 10K. Racers sprint past the new Aggie, the bull, the statue of the bull. Water stations are there. They're exhausted. They can see who they have to catch. They can see behind them who's trying to catch them. And it's a sprint finish into the high school. Up and down this beautiful Main Street area, they come looping back around under the bridge, and the end goal is in sight. Less than a half mile to go. They have to sprint up into the high school and into one of the greatest race finishes of all triathlon. In the high school stadium where fans are greeting them in the stands, the microphone's calling out their name, and they know they've done what they've set out to do. They're going to finish their triathlon. They get onto the high school stadium track, and this is a time to showcase their skills. Nearly all of them increased their speed and sprint into the finish line, raising their hands in the air with a smile on their face, knowing that no one can take away this accomplishment from them. They worked hard, they did it. Yes, they had support from family.
Cameras in his face! He wants to get a breath! You got something to say to Earl? That chorus was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. What speed did you carry? 45, 50.
Nice.
Nice.
50 miles an hour. There's nobody else in sight, dude. You killed them. Shut. Tell me who's here.
Who else is here? Some good volunteers.
Yeah. God dang!
You lapped the course. Go do it again.
In the sport of triathlon, it's an individual test of your will and fitness. And as they finish that line, there is no greater feeling of accomplishment that I did this, and this is my sport. DinoTri 2011 was one of our most successful years, not only in race numbers, but in satisfaction of the racers. Come and find out why for yourself. What a fantastic race, what a great area. I love it. I want you to be here and enjoy what we have every day in our lives.